When you sit down to learn how to code, the first decision you make is also the most paralyzing. Choosing a programming language means committing hundreds of hours of your life, and the path you pick dictates the kind of career you can build. You look online and there are dozens of popular options. Every single one has a massive community and aggressive marketing claiming it is the next big thing in software. Here is the reality. There is no such thing as a universally perfect programming language. Instead, you are looking at a toolbox where every option is built around a very specific set of engineering compromises. This chart shows the central dilemma of software engineering. Every language forces you to balance two variables: how fast you, the developer, can write the code versus how fast the computer's hardware can actually execute it. Languages that do the heavy lifting for you, abstracting away the hardware, sit high in productivity but lower in execution speed. On the other end, languages that give you direct, manual control over the machine's memory live down here, offering maximum speed but demanding a lot more of your time to write. It is a hard engineering reality. You cannot achieve maximum execution speed and maximum ease of use at the same time. The top right quadrant is empty. To figure out where you should start, we are going to evaluate the 8 foundational programming languages based exactly on these trade-offs. If you base your choice on internet popularity, you risk wasting time learning a tool built for a problem you don't even have. You have to match the language to what you actually want to build. The first track is for developers focused on analyzing data, training machine learning models, and getting a prototype running as quickly as possible. This domain is dominated by Python. Python requires you to learn a highly readable, almost English-like syntax. Instead of building tools from scratch, you rely on a massive ecosystem of pre-built libraries to do the heavy computation for you. As a result, you can construct complex systems very fast. Organizations from Google to NASA use Python to analyze massive datasets and power recommendation algorithms without getting bogged down in low-level code. The trade-off is efficiency. Because Python translates your code on the fly as it runs, it executes significantly slower than compiled languages and consumes a high amount of memory. But those data-heavy Python applications need a place to pull their information from. To manage the underlying databases, you need SQL. SQL asks you to learn strict relational database logic. It is specifically designed so you can write a few lines of code to store, update, and retrieve millions of records with extreme efficiency. This visual comparison shows the limitation. SQL works perfectly for structured tables, but it fails completely if you try to use it for unstructured data, like media files or general application logic. If you choose this data track, you are accepting slower code execution as a fair price for rapid human iteration and analytical power. The next path is the web track. This is for developers building visible, interactive applications that run natively inside web browsers. Your absolute requirements here are HTML and CSS. HTML structures the elements on the page, while CSS controls the layout and visual design. But neither of these are actual programming languages. They define how things look, but cannot process logic or handle dynamic data on their own. To solve that lack of interactivity, Netscape created JavaScript in just 10 days. Despite its rushed origins, JavaScript became essential for front-end development. It is the only language that runs natively in the browser, and with modern tools like Node.js, you can use it to build both the front-end interface and the back-end server. The cost of this flexibility is steep. You have to navigate complex asynchronous behavior and constantly adapt to an ecosystem of third-party frameworks that changes almost every month. Because it was built so quickly, JavaScript defaults to weak typing. If you don't strictly control your variables, the code will try to guess your intentions, leading to runtime errors that can be difficult to track down. Choosing the web track means navigating a chaotic ecosystem for the ability to reach any user with a web browser. Then there is the enterprise track. This environment prioritizes maintaining stable, long-term corporate and banking infrastructure, where reliability is the top requirement. Here, Java is a primary language used for high-stakes banking applications and large-scale corporate systems. Java requires a heavy upfront investment from the developer. You have to write highly verbose, boilerplate-heavy code just to execute simple tasks. You write that extra code to guarantee predictability. The Java virtual machine ensures your app runs reliably across different hardware, while automatic garbage collection handles memory management to reduce the risk of crashes. The enterprise track prioritizes developer safety and system predictability over the speed of typing code. The final track focuses on raw machine performance, game engines, operating systems, and real-time hardware. To get that kind of speed, you have to strip away all the high-level abstractions and interact directly with the physical components of the computer. For decades, starting at Bell Labs, the standard for this has been C and C++. Both languages demand that you assume total manual control over allocating and freeing hardware memory. The trade-off for that power is severe. Minor human errors in your code lead directly to memory leaks, hard crashes, or security vulnerabilities. This is why Rust emerged from Mozilla research. It was built specifically to address these memory safety flaws without relying on a slow garbage collector. But Rust comes with its own cost. It enforces a strict compile-time ownership system that guarantees memory safety, but causes slow compilation and imposes a steep learning curve for beginners. The systems track treats that learning curve and strict manual control as the mandatory tax you pay to achieve microsecond execution speeds. This flowchart simplifies the decision. With the trade-offs clear, the only question that matters is, what are you actually building? If your goal is manipulating data, training AI models, or finding a frictionless entry into coding, you choose Python paired with SQL. If you want to build visible, interactive, browser-based applications, you commit to JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. If you are prioritizing employability in stable back-end corporate systems, you work through the verbosity of Java. And if your project requires strict hardware control, you choose C++ for industry dominance or Rust for modern safety. Programming languages are not linear upgrades. They are distinct tools built to solve distinct problems. Stop agonizing over finding the best language. Pick the path that aligns with your specific goal, accept its limitations, and start building. Learning to balance these technical constraints against your goals is the first step toward building software that actually works.